On this episode of Content and Cash, AI is cutting your edits. YouTube wants selfies in your shorts. And your pricing still look like you're scared to pay rent or scared to at least charge rent. So today, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about that. We're talking about AI and the changes. But first, we got to run this intro. Let's do it.
Today, we're talking business.
No, you're not. Specs, now. Mention the dynamic range, rookie, and say 45 megapixels. Don't lie about our sensor.
45 megapixels, 14-bit RAW,
30 stops of dynamic range.
You've spent enough time listening to gurus read spec sheets, enough chasing views, enough buying gear you don't need. It's time to think bigger. It's time to build a business, not just a portfolio. Welcome to Content and Cash, the only podcast dedicated to teaching you how to make money with photography, videography, and AI content from real creators actively in the industry. Content and Cash is powered by FlashFilm Academy's Flash 5 framework, available only at flashfilmacademy.com.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the show. We talk a lot about AI and how it's taking over. In today's show, we're going to talk a little bit about some changes that's coming. Because one of the things that dropped over the last time we had the episode was Final Cut. Final Cut dropping a lot of new AI features. And look, y'all, we told y'all AI was coming. You can't avoid it. It's in everything, and it should be a part of your journey. Tell me about some tools you've used as far as dealing with AI to kind of help speed up your process.
Yeah, well, this might be the push that actually gets me into Final Cut. I've been paying the monthly subscription for Premiere for years, and I keep thinking I need to switch to Final Cut. And this might be the thing that actually gets me there.
I got bad news for you because they're going to a subscription model.
Oh, don't tell me that, Ty. Don't tell me that.
Yeah, you got to go DaVinci Resolve if you want to. DaVinci Resolve is where it's at.
I miss the days of just buying something and having it.
I agree. You just paid if you wanted to upgrade, and if the features weren't there, you just didn't do it. I use Photoshop CS6 forever, and I still think it's useful. You know what I mean? I still think it's super useful. But I know Final Cut, it got new AI tools, auto detect beats, search for clips, built-in automated montage, meaning editors and creators will have, just a new way to edit. And if you are avoiding, and this is the thing, this is why I get so much pushback from creators and AI. It's unavoidable. Like, you have to learn and accept it and use it, or you won't make it.
It's the future, whether you want it or not, unfortunately.
It's
for some people. Yeah.
And when I say future, I mean as in tomorrow, as in an hour from now. Like, if you don't accept it, you're not gonna make it. There's no way around it. And I get so, I'm talking about my comments. People cuss me out in the comments. They don't know that they really cussing out AI, because my comments a lot of times are being answered via AI, for real. Like, if you want to get access to me and ask questions, you got to be a member of FlashFilm Academy. And if you're not, you get to talk to some AI. But we get questions answered, and people get common knowledge and things they may want to ask about the brand or about a video that we just train AI to answer. Because I got other stuff to do. Just like with your business, you should be automating it with AI so that you can go do other things. And you should have the ability to let AI talk to your client, or at least communicate up until a point where you're ready to take over and go from there. And it should take the place of an assistant or somebody that you would pay or hire to do that task. And if you're not using it like that today, you're missing out.
Oh, you got to show me some of your tricks then, because I am personally still too nervous to let AI handle my client communications. I'm sure that it's coming, though. Oh, you look at AI a couple of years ago versus today. I mean, 2 short years and everything changed. So 2 more years, 5 more years.
Yeah, and in 2026, I just think it's just gonna move really fast. Like, if you're not paying attention, you're gonna either be a victim of it or you're gonna hear about it. Like, you're gonna be one of the people who interacting with AI and don't realize it. I mean, how many times do you call into a place and they're like, state your concern, or hey, I want to speak to customer service. Yeah. You're dealing with AI. You just don't realize you're dealing with AI. So I think it's important that you start to look at it that way. And as a business owner, how can we use this to save money? That's the thing. You could say, well, AI video is lazy and you don't like the quality. Your client won't care because you will be charging too much as compared to what somebody can do using AI.
All right, Ty, let me ask you a question. If you could only choose one AI tool for your entire business.
ChatGPT.
ChatGPT.
You ain't even got to finish it. ChatGPT. Because it can do everything. Like it's the reasoning behind it. It's knowing when to do what, when to say what.
Mm-hmm.
I can program it to create images or do anything. So I'm living and dying with ChatGPT.
Did you see it's integrated into Photoshop now?
Yeah.
Or Photoshop is integrated into ChatGPT.
Yeah, you could. Video and photo editing will not be you dragging timelines together. It will be you talking to the editor and say, "Here's my clips. Create a video of my vacation with my friends and family," and it'll sit back and look for stuff, and it'll put stuff, and it'll move it to the beat, and you'll sit back and say, "Okay." And if you don't believe me, if you got an iPhone, your iPhone almost does this with stories when it reminds you of a trip you took. And your iPhone it currently edited your pictures and video to a slideshow. And you sitting there like, dang. Or like I get it on birthdays. It'll put together a slideshow for the pictures I have with certain people and it's their birthday.
Yeah.
So AI is already editing it. It's just you have to get comfortable with it. And I promise you, I want to say we're at least maybe 2 years or less away from just dumping files into a folder and saying, okay, edit me, make this interview.
Yeah. Actually, I have a story about a shoot I did recently. It was a major corporate event, and I missed a photo, a very important photo. It was of a booth of one of the main sponsors of the event. And I'm not going to name the company because I don't want them to know all about all my secrets here. But it was CEOs of Fortune 500 companies. And so the client was like, "Hey, did you get a photo of this sponsor booth?" And they sent me just a low quality iPhone picture of it. And so I looked through, didn't have it. So I was freaking out and I thought, you know what? I'm going to see if ChatGPT can help me. So I put the iPhone picture that they sent me, I ran it through ChatGPT, and I still used, we talked about this in the last episode, a photographer can still get better results out of ChatGPT than a normal person. I put in what kind of lighting I wanted, I put in the angle, I put in depth of field, and I did end up, ChatGPT is still a little bit behind on text, but I was able to I mixed a AI generated photo based on their iPhone photo. Then I used Photoshop to replace the text to make the text match perfectly. And I think the client had no idea that it was not a photo I took, but that it was their iPhone picture run through ChatGPT with a little bit of human intervention. And so I didn't have to tell the client I missed an important shot. I just gave it to them.
And they loved it. See, that's, again, you should be using it for CYA purposes as well. Mm-hmm. Cover your butt. And I think that's dope. I don't know. I've been using Nano Banana a little bit by Google for more images because it tends to get the text right, but it's so much out there. And listen, if you watch it, you should be experimenting. You should be playing with certain stuff because I was telling people I've been using AI for motion graphics, for a lot of motion graphics. Like, hey, create this word that link and do this, and it zoom out of the city into space, and then put it on a green screen so I can make it transparent and add. You know what I mean? So it's so much you can do, and you all should be, whenever you creating something on Sora or whatever you're using for video, whether you're using the Google side of things, the Gemini side of things. Tell it to create motion graphics on a green screen. Then take it into your editor and pull out the green, and there you go. Now you got graphics. And you didn't have to pay somebody to animate it or make it or whatever. This works really well with animating logos. Give it your logo and tell it to animate your logo and give it direction. Hey, I want the logo to shrink, or I want the people to jump out and run down the street in the logo, and tell it to put it on the green screen. You'd be surprised what you come up with. Because all of our graphics that we use here, even things like this was created using AI. I just added my logo to the bottom. This is all AI. I told it, this is what we're doing. This is what we're planning on doing. I want 2 shots. I want to put this text, and this is all AI. So, and I even have a version where the background moves around. It's like a video where it moves, but it's all captured or all created with AI. So we shouldn't be afraid of AI. We gotta find ways to embrace it. And on this channel, we are definitely going to focus heavy on AI in 2026 because it's unavoidable. And I think that if you want to be successful, you need to learn AI. We just got finished talking about off air, just if you were to start your business today, right? Just how different of an approach we would take. You want to share some of like what you were saying?
Oh man. Well, some of it's actually the behind the scenes stuff that took me a while to figure out. But I would get something like QuickBooks I would get accounting software, and I would get an LLC like day one. Those would be my first two things. But I definitely fell into the trap of being obsessed with gear, and I would not do that again. We were actually just talking beforehand also about how I was telling Ty that at the beginning of my career, I knew every camera that every manufacturer was putting out every year because I was just consuming so much of the gear content. And now I'm watching, I'll hear about some camera and I'm like, I didn't even know it had that. I didn't even know Canon switched up their letter designations or whatever for new cameras. And so it is interesting how the further you get into your career, the more sort of the less you care about gear.
I agree. If it wasn't for the YouTube side of things, I wouldn't be as up on just trending cameras.
Yeah.
Because like, when you got your own, you need to master your own, right? You was telling me a story about a gentleman that used the C100 for
yeah.
And I get it. Like once you master that sensor, you don't need to go crazy. And that's what never, like when I talk to great DPs who capture great content, like they are so in love with a sensor that they know how to light and get what they want to get out of it. They don't want to have to relearn the limitations of a new sensor, that often. They like, even if it's old technology, they just know how to get the best out of it. And you'd be surprised at how somebody can have an old camera and just run circles around you on what they can create because they're so used to like understanding how much light this sensor take or what's too much light for this sensor or how this sensor act in the shadows or, is it noisy in certain places? Once you really get to, like once you know your sensor, it's hard giving that up, going for something that's new and shiny, just because it's new and shiny. Like just because if it's not a significant upgrade, like something crazy, like superior autofocus or dynamic range, that's blowing something out of the park. Like a lot of people tend to stick with the professionals, especially when you got to think too, when you're getting paid to produce content at a certain level, you don't want to risk that quality because you're unfamiliar with,
oh yeah,
you know what I'm saying, your tools. As a soldier, the last thing I want to do is go to war with a weapon I'm unfamiliar with. Mm-hmm. I know my weapon inside and out. I know if it jams, it stops, it get dirty, whatever. I can take it apart and fix it in the dark. I don't even need to see it because I've done it so much. And the last thing I want is somebody to hand me a weapon, and I'm in the middle of battle and it's jammed and I don't know anything about this weapon and my life is on the line. So I feel like that about business. Like I don't want a client that's expecting me to create content for them and I can't create it because I got this new camera that's supposed to be all of that and I can't work it.
I actually have a funny story about that. It was like 2018. I had just switched. I bought my first Sony camera. I was still using Canon. And this was before the Tiger King show came out. Oh, I didn't know what I was getting myself into here. But I took a model up to Tiger King Zoo up in Oklahoma. And I didn't know about all the crazy stuff. So don't at me. But
have I told you my story with Tiger King?
No. Oh, you got one too? Okay.
I'll tell you later. Go ahead.
So I paid them a bunch of money to do a shoot with a baby tiger and this model. And so I get there and I'm using my Sony camera, and I love Sony. This is not knocking them. It's just, it has a different menu system than Canon. And I accidentally put it into this 10-second timer mode, but I didn't know that I had done that. So I was just hitting the shutter button and it wasn't taking a picture. And I had orchestrated this whole shoot, and I didn't get a single picture out of it. And I had no idea. Like, I didn't have any idea what was going on. And it's because I wasn't familiar with my gear inside and out the way I am now.
Wow. That sucks. Gosh. Yeah. I had that happen one time with the A6500s. When I first got them, they were on timer mode. I just couldn't figure out. I just had to sit down and like go through everything to figure out it was that. Cause it's crazy. But yeah, so I had a Todd Tail. I even told him, I turned down a job with the Tiger King. Oh, really? Yeah. So when I first moved to Dallas, I was just looking for jobs or whatever. Yeah. And somebody sent me a Craigslist listing for a job at a zoo. It was in Oklahoma. It was like, which is about, I think it was like 60 miles from here, something like that. It ain't too bad. So I reached out, went out, talked to him, had an interview. He was like, this is where we disconnected. He wanted me to live on the premise, and I didn't want to. He was like, you can live here. I got this trailer, and the trailer was beat. Like, I was like, he's like, we can fix it up. You can do whatever you want. And I was like, I don't want to live I don't want to live there. Like, if we can work it out, because it really wasn't paying a lot. I just wanted to be around, like I've always wanted to work for National Geographic. Like, I always wanted, like, the nature side of, I just wanted to be around animals. Like, how dope would it be? And I'm thinking at the time, like, portfolio, how dope would it be where my portfolio got lions or whatever animals? Yeah. So where we had a misunderstanding was he wanted me to live on the premises, and I was like, I don't want to, bro. Like, I'm just not feeling it.
Based on the reputation from that documentary, he might have tried to pay you in something other than money.
Yeah,
too.
He probably would have. And I was so oblivious. I just wasn't thinking, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. I'm thinking about, man, I get to be around all these animals. And I know other people have been infatuated with it because I was just, enamored with, I get to be with the tigers, and you know what I'm saying? Like, that's what, like, you can go film a lot of stuff, but you don't always film stuff that you think is really dope. You know what I mean? Like, so I just feel like that would have been, I would have took a pay cut because it wasn't much. It wasn't a lot. Like the benefit of the pay was it included room and board. You know what I mean? Right. Like, it was, but I was like, I don't need that. So that's where we didn't connect that, and we just went our separate ways. And it's funny because years later, my mother was watching the documentary, and she said Joe Exotica, and I was like, I know somebody named. It can't be two guys. No, I know somebody named. And when it came on, I was just like, I remember watching it like, no. And my mother was like, "You okay?" I was like, "I know him."
Yeah.
And she was like, "What do you mean?" I had to show her emails, and like, I know him, like. You know what I'm saying? We had communicated. So it was crazy because we were bored and just cut it on, just got tired of hearing about it. So it was like, I was surrounded by family when we cut it on. It was like a Thanksgiving, or whatever. It was like after the games go off, you ain't got nothing to watch. Somebody just cut it on, and I'm like, and I wasn't paying attention because I didn't care about it. Like, I just,
Well, it was 2020 too. So everyone was consuming all the content you can get your hands on.
I just did, but when I heard the name and I was like doing something, and I turned around and I was like, ain't no way. So it was crazy story. Yeah, I almost took that job. I just wanted to,
you could have been in the documentary.
I could have been in the documentary. Yeah. But nobody in the documentary was in the documentary for good reasons. I don't envy anybody who was in the documentary. So yeah, but that's just something to think about. I want to talk about next segment. We're going to combine the next two segments because they talk about social media trends for 2026, right? And platforms are, of course, going video first, community driven, and they're pushing monetization tools, right? So if you are creating content for the purpose of, just as if you are just a content creator for yourself, those are things you got to think about. Also, the next one talks, which is really within the same thing, but it talks about how YouTube is now, they want you to add more still images to your shorts for some reason. So it's just something that they're pushing. They're allowing you to add. It's just tools that they have within the platform, and they're allowing you to add still images in your shorts. I don't know if they're trying to go the Instagram route where you can add pictures and carousel, or I don't know what they're trying to do with that, but I've even noticed now when I go to YouTube, it goes straight to shorts. Like I gotta,
you got to scroll through a bunch of shorts to even get to full videos.
Right.
So that's probably why they want the stills for the thumbnails. So instead of an awkward thumbnail, they have a freeze frame of something curated to put up there.
I can see that because it's just, man, don't get me wrong, I appreciate shorts, but I don't know. YouTube is. I hope they don't like cannibalize their long form content.
Yeah, we already have Reels. We already have TikTok. I want a place where I can watch longer videos.
Right. And don't let that be Netflix. Yeah. And I think I'm gonna tell you who to keep an eye on. Keep an eye on Spotify because they are, as a podcaster, they are encouraging more and more video, long form video, episodic video. So Spotify is trying to be the Netflix of podcasts. They want it, so they're offering, if your podcast is taking off, and I tell people all the time, start a podcast. It's easier to grow a podcast than a YouTube channel, and it pay more per view. Per 1,000 views, you make way more money with a podcast than YouTube. Oh, yeah. And YouTube can depend on your niche. If you're in a good niche, you can make $40, $50 per 1,000 views, which is, it happens. It's just hard. But the typical, like if you're in comedy, you're making $2 per 1,000 views. And you can make way more than that on Spotify. I think last time I checked, Spotify was paying closer to like the $40, $50 range per 1,000 listens. So just something to keep in mind. And it also depends how many ads you have, how many ad breaks you have. This is usually typically with 3 ad breaks, and typically around 20 minutes of content, something like that. But it's just something to think about. If you're thinking about starting something, if I was starting a business or starting to get into content creation, it'll more than likely be podcasting first. I mean, as you guys can see, I've invested heavy in taking this podcast to the next level for those purposes. So definitely something I would look at. And, and a few things too, just kind of talking about the creator community. A lot of companies are rolling out new ways to monetize. You see TikTok got the TikTok shop, and YouTube is starting to push a lot of products. And, you got your Teespring shirt integrated under your video. You got plenty of ways where, they're allowing you to make money with your content while still making them money. So yeah, it sucks. But next segment, I want to jump into, I want to talk about pricing, right? I want to talk about, why the way a lot of content creators price their work, how it's not working for them. Mm-hmm. And we just want to kind of touch on it, and make sure, we kind of just take a look at it. But real quick, for those who don't know, and that's not a member of our FlashFilm Academy, feel free to join FlashFilm Academy. This is where we have these conversations. It's a community for content creators who want to understand the business side of content creation. So we're not here just to talk about a bunch of gear. We're here to help you understand the business side of the business so that you can make money with this gear. It's a lot of gear, it's a lot of money, but people are making tons of money with this gear. So if you're buying $3,000 cameras and you're not booking gigs or booking jobs, it's on you, because you can go to a place like NAB and see all of the businesses and, all of the money there to realize how much money is in this industry. It's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money.
A lot of money in this industry. And if you haven't cracked the code or haven't had the ability to get to the point where you can start to make consistent income, even if you don't want to go full time, if you want to just supplement, what you're making and make an extra 30, 40,000 on the side, it's not as hard as you think. It's not as hard as you think. But let's move to the next segment so we can talk about two things I want to talk about. We want to talk about pricing, but it's something more important than that I actually want to pivot to, right? Because I want to talk about how to fire bad clients without burning bridges. I think that this is important. And a lot of students that I'm working with, we're currently talking about this because with the current regime, certain businesses are struggling, and we're starting to get the trickle down effect of that. Companies saying we don't got the budget this year, or companies are trying to squeeze us out of more for less. So I got a few things that I want to talk about, right? So the main question is simple. Have you ever get that pit in your stomach when a client name pop up? let's talk about how to get rid of that client. You know what I'm saying? And this is some of the top mistakes that creators make. You know, they stay in a toxic, low-paying client relationship out of fear. You know, what if they talk bad about me? Or, you know what I'm saying? What if they leave a bad review? And the truth is, you know, what if they block your growth? You know, what if this company is the company that's preventing you from investing time, energy, and effort in the clients that you like working with? And I want to talk about just some of the red flags that you should be paying attention to notice if this client is not working with her, is not worth working with. The first red flag is scope creep every week. I'm working with this client. They keep adding a little more. It started as something simple for this price that we agreed on. And now they want to add this and tweak that. And can we just Photoshop this? That's something that you got to be mindful of if you're working with a client consistently. And we all know what this look like. Number 2 is disrespecting boundaries or timelines. Clients that drop stuff on, I need this by next week, you know, and this is, it's crazy.
I've been hounding somebody for a piece of media that I don't have myself for like a month. And then they finally give it to me and they're like, oh, by the way, can you have the edit done tomorrow? I'm like, I've been asking for this for a month and you just gave it to me. I can't get it to you by tomorrow.
Right.
If it was that important to you, you should have been on top of it. Yeah.
Facts.
That happens to me all the time.
And some of the things that we'll put in place, like we've learned to put things in place to prevent, because you can't, these are things that a lot of creators go through and they hit me up like, Ty, how do I fix this? How do I fix it? You fix it by preventing it. And you preventing it by laying down the law. Like, this is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to do it. And if you don't make that clear, you're going to have a lot of this. The next one is consistent haggling. They don't see the value. They want to negotiate the price. They, what does it cost and how many hours? And you know what I'm saying?
That is the one thing that'll get me to drop a client faster than anything. Is the haggling.
Facts.
My prices are my prices. If I like you, if you're a good client with consistent work that's easy to work with, that's a different story. Then we can talk about what your budget is, what I can do within your budget. But if I tell you a price and you come back with, well, can you do it for half of that? I'm not even sure I'm going to respond.
Yeah. It's funny because myself and I have students that they're getting a lot of haggling from clients that they're working with. And like I said, when it trickle down and budgets dry up and, they're looking at costs. And I got a student right now that's going through, I'm not going to name names, but he's going through it with a client where a client is literally asking him for his, like, break down why they cost so much, why you're charging me what, like, break down, where's the cost going?
Yeah.
And I told him, like, don't negotiate with terrorists.
Yeah. It's none of your business.
It's none of your business.
Yeah. You can either afford me or you can't.
Facts. But look, you have to have the brand to stand on that business.
Yeah.
You can't be one man band saying, I'm mad. No, you got to have the brand. That's why we teach you how to build out the brand. And your brand will command the respect that you're requesting. And if you don't, it's a funny thing in dating. I always say, I will respect you, but you got to give me something to respect.
Yeah.
You got to give me something. And as a business owner, you got to give them something to respect.
Well, and so I've been in it long enough to where most of my new business comes from word of mouth. I when I was getting started, I was on lead generating websites. I put a lot of money into Google Ads. Now it's mostly word of mouth. And if I gave someone, these huge discounts, if I negotiated, then my reputation would become, I'm the cheap photographer, I'm the cheap videographer. And that is not the reputation I want to have, a decade into my career.
I tell people you can never recover from being the cheap guy.
Yeah.
So don't.
That's one of the best, I think I mentioned this last time too, but one of the best pieces of advice I got when I was just getting started, I worked for free for a year until I became good. I went from free, I was doing work for free, and then I became expensive. I was never the cheap guy. Yeah. And I see a lot of people getting started who do struggle with that, who, they're doing these shoots for like $50, $100. And I'm like, that's not even worth, like, you can't even buy a tank of gas for that. Like,
I'm 50. I'm looking at 500. Like, not
yeah. Is it for like portrait shoots? And stuff like that?
There's a certain dollar amount to get me out of bed, and it It ain't cheap.
No.
You know what I'm saying? I'm just, I get a bunch of friends and family members come to me like, well, I got an idea for maybe you can help. I'm like, you don't understand what that cost. Let me tell you what that cost, even as my friend, because there's cost for me involved. I have a team. Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna bring my team and have everybody out here because I like you. They gotta eat. Yeah. My editor gotta eat. Like, people gotta eat. So, and I'm not showing up as just one man no more, filming it. Them days is over with. Them days is far gone.
Okay, on the opposite side of that, though, I have a counterpoint to everything we just said, and that is, when do you offer extra services for low or no cost? And I have an example of that. I was doing photos for this company for a long time, and while I was doing photos, I just snuck a few B-roll videos, and then I gave them a 30-second sizzle reel for free.
Yeah.
And they were like, we absolutely love this. Can we book you for more video jobs? And they were high paying. And so I went from working for them once or twice a year to almost every month doing different video projects. So there is some long-term strategic planning, but you have to be kind of wise about it, or you're going to burn yourself out doing work for free. But every once in a while, if you're smart about it, it can really come in clutch.
So I call this is just me internally. I call it my Burger King theory. And I'm going to tell you why I call it Burger King. Whenever you go to Burger King and you order fries, there's always an onion ring in your bag. And you didn't, and like, you're going to eat it. And next time you go, you're like, you know what? Let me get onion rings. So to me, it's the Burger King theory, where I give you what you paid for, but I'm going to add a little bit extra. So next time you come, you're like, oh, let me get that too.
Yeah.
And so I've learned, but that's different than, and that's just a technique that's different than just doing everything free. Like there's, I tell people, get your foot in the door and then expand, right? Yeah. Get your foot in the door and then say, we do this, we do that, we do this. We can also do that. And sometimes don't ask for permission, just do it. Just like, you didn't ask nobody to create the sizzle reel. You just did it. Mm-hmm. They didn't say they needed it. They didn't say they was thinking about it. It wasn't on their radar. It wasn't something they had before. And, they're thinking about doing it. It was just like, oh, what's this?
They didn't even know they wanted it. So even if I had brought it up to them beforehand, they would have been like, well, we've never had this before, so I don't think we need it. Then they saw and they were like, we do need this, and we need a lot more of it.
I'm going to tell you a great place for those who are looking. I'm always looking for opportunities to do things like this, right? I'm going to tell you if you're doing any corporate event photography, pull out your cell phone, throw a mic on somebody, and get a testimonial. How do you guys feel about this event? What do you enjoy it most? You would be surprised at how many vendors I booked, because I booked a vendor that all he had was a chocolate waterfall, and fruit and I just had people talk about how much they enjoyed it. Like, I'm at this event, it's a corporate event, and look, it's a chocolate waterfall and strawberries. Like, I've been here, I got 20 they're just talking about how much they loved it. And the vendor who's trying to book more jobs is like, I didn't know I needed it, but thank you. So I may do one and give it to him, but he's hired me to come back and do so many more. Yeah. And guess what? When he get hired at an event, I get to meet the venue owner, and I get to meet other contractors at that event. So doing one thing for one person has allowed me to get access to so many people who have the potential of hiring me and filling up my calendar.
Yeah. And how many, when you're scrolling Instagram, how many ads are just testimonials from other people? Like, even nobody at that brand is even involved. They just have some testimonial video as their, or a review video or whatever. But that's, so this is all part of like the long-term strategic thinking that can come in really valuable for growing your business.
Yeah, because if you're not good at marketing, you better be good at networking. You better be good at meeting people. And that's why I tell you, the number one tool in your tool bag is your personality. Mm-hmm. You have to have the ability to mesh with people and talk to people in workrooms. And you have to have the ability to solve problems before people even know they have them. And if you have to look for those opportunities. I when I shoot corporate events, I'm looking for those opportunities. I'm looking for who the VIP is. I'm looking for who the guests are. I'm looking for who the vendors are. I'm getting as many business cards as I possibly can, because I'm gonna contact these people. I may send them a picture of their booth and just, say, hey, we do this and we do that. And here's, because they're going to open the email with a picture of their booth. They're going to look at it. They're probably going to acknowledge you and say something back, thank you or whatever. I love to get, and I'll tell them, like, let me get your card so I can send you a picture of the booth. And I get people card. They love it.
And everybody needs a photographer sooner or later, and they're going to think of you first.
Facts. Yeah. Yeah. So you gotta look to, that's just from being in the industry from time, and we're just used to, just working a room and building business where you don't have to spend a lot on marketing if you're good at this. Mm-hmm. If you're not good at this, you're gonna have to pay for ads. I'm just being real with you. But if you can get 1 or 2 clients and learn how to work those clients, you'd be surprised that, because the name of the game, and people who get into this industry think it's about getting 20 new clients a month and you're just meeting all these people. It's not. It's about having 8 clients that book you consistently throughout the year. That's what it is. That's what it's about. It's not about meeting new faces every day and bringing all these people in. A lot of y'all invest heavily in, the intake and acquisition of clients. But the truth is, it's really about building a relationship with one client and working with that client throughout the years. The clients that I've worked with for 3, 4, 5 years. Yeah. And they've spent 6 figures per year. A combined 2 or 3 of them is six figures per year. So I think that's the biggest misconception that new photographers and videographers have when they get into this industry, is like, I got to keep the phone ringing. I got to keep, my phone is ringing for customer service purposes, for me talking to clients and making sure they have what they need. It's not ringing for new clients as much. I get more spam calls than anything.
It depends what your niche is, though.
Right.
Like every once in a while, I see people who just make a killing off of like family portraits and stuff like that. But the thing is, you need to source a lot of clients to make that full time.
That's true.
And so, yeah, there's breakdowns. Like I remember a few years ago, I was like, when I was just getting started, I was like, how do I turn this into 6 figures? And I'm not going to do the math off the top of my head, but I was like, it's a X dollar amount per week. Yep. What is that? 2,000 a week, something like that. If you're assuming you take like 2 weeks off per year. Yeah. So that's 2,000 per week. So how do you make 2,000 per week? That can either be one bigger corporate client, or it can be like 100 headshots, or it can be X number of family portrait shoots. Mm-hmm. So it's all kind of like, how many clients do you want to have to get? And my skill set is not advertising, so I do better with having just fewer higher paying corporate clients. And there is some fear involved in that too. Like if I lose one of my top clients, that hurts me. And so, but thankfully I've been around long enough to where I know how to replace them.
Right.
And all the time, like we've talked about this a lot. I'm glad I know Ty, because I'm to a point where I'm like double, triple booking all the time. And if I didn't have a professional network with people like Ty in it, then I'd be kind of screwed.
In module 3, I talk about the importance of having a professional network. Just if you're a smaller, just in case something happened, right? We didn't have times, we didn't have all kind of stuff happen to us on the way to shoots. I caught 2 flats one time, 2 going to a shoot. Like it ain't just change a spare and get there. And luckily I keep 2 spare tires in my van. That's just something I've learned from that scenario. But the importance of having close friends in your network, or partners, where if something happened, you can call me and say, hey, tomorrow I was supposed to be such and such. I got hurt. This happened. Can you? And vice versa. And you need to have that just in case something happened, so that you don't lose, a client. Because we understand, we work with these clients, I'm not going to say for life, but for extended periods of time. And the last thing, and the good thing about our relationship is, if you call me to cover some stuff, I'm covering stuff for you and your brand. Mm-hmm. And I'm there to represent your brand the best way I can. And vice versa. Yeah. And you want to have somebody you trust that not only can do the work, but can they represent your brand the way you represent? Like, is the customer service there? Is the talking, the handshake, and the eye contact?
Oh yeah, and everybody has a photographer horror story of them showing up, overly casual for the event, or they smell bad, or they're, I had one. I may have mentioned this before at some point, but I had one client tell me, like, you're such a breath of fresh air. Breath of fresh air. Sorry, I'm a little tongue tied. Because our last photographer was taking pictures of people's feet at the event, and we got a lot of complaints about him. So he took great pictures, but we had to let him go because so many people in our industry. Freelancers in general are very hit or miss. You meet amazing freelancers like me and Ty, or maybe you don't, because there's not as much of a vetting process. If you work for a company, someone hired you, but
this is why brand is so important. This is why it's best to present yourself as a company, as a brand. And like I told you, anytime I've worked, give you an example, around kids, I provide a background check for myself and my staff. Just those are things that's why you want to put it out front. Other photographers and videographers aren't doing this. So you can get ahead of it if you're working in that industry. And I want to touch back on something you said. This is something you need to think about when you pick a niche, right? Do I want to have to go chase clients every day? Yeah. If I'm a wedding photographer, I have to chase clients because I'm only getting that client once. Yeah. Unless they, get remarried. But for the most part, it's a one and done. Yeah. Do I want to go and hunt every week for a meal? Or do I want to hunt once, land a whale or elephant, and slice that elephant up for months? I like hunting once and being done. That's just me. I don't want a niche where I have to go and fight every day for $500. And I still can't even pay mortgage with that. Like, I still got to get 5 and 6 of those to make it work. I'd rather just fight hard and go get a $6,000 check from, get $4,000-$6,000 checks from different companies a month, and then I'm chilling. And I've worked just as hard, if not less hard, to get a bigger payout than what I would have done to go chase all of these pennies.
One of the most amazing wedding photographers that I know personally, she joined a country club. And and she just went there, hung out, told everyone she's a wedding photographer, and she was landing, like 20 or 30, $10,000 weddings a year just off of networking that way. And so, it just depends on your skill set. If that's something that you're comfortable doing and that's something that you might be good at, that's a really good avenue to do that as well. But, different people have different skill sets. I'm not really big into posting on social media. And so there's some stuff like a lot of those portrait photographers who are constantly updating their social media and all that kind of stuff. They might do really well at sourcing a lot of clients, especially when they get the high follower count. But that's not my skill set. So, I approach it differently.
And you want to keep that in mind when you're picking a niche. Do you want to have to, and you got to think about it. If you're a real estate photographer, if you're doing, one or two times where you work with a client and that's it, you're going to have to post a lot more. You're going to have to market a lot more. You're going to have to deal with more spam and more intake and more calls and more quotes. And I'd rather just work with a company. And I'm only, you may get 5 calls a month. You close 2, that's $30,000 a month worth of business. That's just me. The choice is yours, but those are things that you have to think about as you're building out your niche. And those, we talk about it heavy in module 1, right? So how do you determine what's a good niche for you? These are questions you need to ask yourself as you build your brand, because that determines a lot. You're right. A lot of people don't want to post on the internet all day. They don't want to be in front of the camera. They don't want to push this personality through social media to get people's attention and do business with them. And if you're not built for that, or if you don't want to do that, you may want to choose a different niche. You know what I mean? And I think it's important to think about that. And a lot of people just don't. They want to be a photographer or a videographer, but they don't realize the legwork that goes into obtaining new clients. Like, it's hard to get new business, especially when they one and done.
I'm going to play devil's advocate here for a second. I shoot corporate and commercial almost exclusively. I have shot a bunch of weddings, especially early in my career, but now I don't even have a wedding website up right now. I forgot to renew my domain and it's down. Yeah. And so, but the opposite end of that is corporate and commercial can be unbelievably boring. Yeah. When I have a bunch of trade shows and press events and like testimonial shoots back to back to back, I feel like I'm about to just pull my hair out.
Oh, it's definitely boring.
It's so boring. And it's really, and not everyone's cut out for that. If you think of yourself more as like an artistic creator more than a business person, then you know, maybe the weddings and the family shoots, you know, they might be the right choice for you. Right. So it really just, you know, you got to know yourself, you got to know your skill set, you got to know what you're good at. And, you know, that does take some time. I was a wedding photographer for a while. Yeah. I was shooting a lot of family shoots and but I found over time, I figured out what works for me, and I'm not going back.
Yeah. I want to kind of touch on that real quick. I ain't going to take it too long, but I want to kind of touch on, you know, we both started off just kind of all over the map until we dialed it in.
Yeah.
I think, and this is my opinion, I think the amateur in me, there are clear distinctions between, in my opinion, when I was an amateur and being a professional. Mm-hmm. Like I tell people, as an amateur, you go take a lot of pictures and you hope you got something. Right. As a professional, you know what you're going to take a picture of.
Oh yeah.
Like you know everything. Like, so you're not wasting a lot of time just getting a bunch of pictures of leaves and hope that you got something. So in business, as an amateur, I feel like you are taking almost whatever you can get, and you live in a world where it's just $20. Yeah. As a pro with a brand, you're taking only what you want, and it's at a big pay, you know what I'm saying, big pay increase that you can live off of. So, you know, and another thing too, I often feel like as a pro compared to an amateur, this is just my opinion. This ain't the facts. Let me think how I can word this properly. Because when it comes to as a pro, it's not my job to get creative joy out of the client's project.
Yeah.
I get creative joy out of what I'm doing later. But with their project, I'm not looking to be creative. In my opinion, I'm looking to be effective. And I'm looking to do whatever it is. I'm looking to make sure I do whatever I promised them I would for their content, whether that be engagement, marketing, or whatever. And if it takes some creativity to get there, cool. But I don't look to satisfy my thirst for creativity with their project, because I can't do it the way I want to do it. You know what I'm saying? And also, it removes the conflict of my creative ego and what their vision is, because I can almost guarantee you their vision is way below what because I got experience of working with this every day, and I got my idea of what's dope. They don't even realize it's possible. You know what I'm saying? So I've only hurt myself by going into it being a creative. Like, let me satisfy myself creatively with this project. And I'm just like, whatever you need is what we're going to do. And that's all we're going to do. We're going to under promise and over deliver, but not in a way where I'm pushing my creative boundaries. And another reason for that is because it's time consuming, right? Yeah. If I'm working with a client, hey, look, this is the task. This is what we need to do. Let's get in, let's get out. I don't want to be here trying to be creative. Like, let me see, maybe we should. No, you hired us to do content for engagement. We need a script that does this. We need a call to action that does that. We need this person on screen and 3 B-roll shots, and that's it. I don't like to recreate the wheel with every client being creative. Every video I do on this particular that has this goal in mind of engagement, hypothetically, will be the exact same video. It's going to be 60 seconds of a talking head with a graphic intro, a graphic outro, and 3 B-roll shots of the client talking about what they were doing. it's going to be the same for everybody. I'm
Yeah.
not reinventing the wheel.
Yeah, if you got a formula that works, why fix something that isn't broken?
Yeah. I look at McDonald's.
Yeah.
They don't recreate the burger every time you order it.
Mhm.
They got a way of doing it.
I don't know. I travel a lot, and I've had some weird burgers in different parts of the world at McDonald's.
You may have some good burgers. I've had some crazy. Well, I've had crazy burgers with eggs and pineapples, but they're pretty good.
Oh man, I was in Thailand. It was a Burger King, not a McDonald's, but they had a patty made of shrimp. They had a burger where the bun and the meat had chocolate infused in them. I was not brave enough for that. My buddy tried it. He said it was not his favorite, but
I can see that. I can see that. Before we move on, I want to just go over just a few things real quick so they can say I made sure I covered it. So real quick, red flags to let you know it's time to let the client go. Scope creep every week. Number 2 is disrespecting boundaries or timelines. Number 3 is constant haggling. They don't see the value. Number 4 is micromanaging everything you do. 5 is bad for your brand, style, ethics, or energy. Something to think about. And let's talk about 3 ways to let clients go gracefully. I'm real quick before we get into the graceful. Listen, when you're the business owner, that's what I love about being a business owner. I get to be the asshole, and my word is the last word. But hypothetically, we're gonna stick to the hypotheticals, and we're gonna give you 3 graceful ways. Mm-hmm. 1 is the elevator pitch. We're shifting our focus to higher tier clients, and we can no longer continue this project. You can be nice and say that. Number 2 is the pricing push. To continue our new pricing structure, we'll need to be an increase of whatever dollar amount. Everybody got a price. Your worst client can be your favorite client if they was paying something astronomical, something that makes you say, okay, I'll do it for that.
Well, now's kind of a good time to finesse that because things are getting more expensive with inflation and everything. I think people understand the price increase, and if they don't have it in their budget, it's still a graceful way to say it. It's like, unfortunately, due to rising costs, I'm going to have to charge more. And if that's not within your budget, we may have to part ways.
Netflix do it every year.
Yeah.
So you got to think about that. The companies around you are doing it every year. Your light bill, your gas bill, it goes up every year. Your prices should be going up every year. Every year. The next one is the clean exit script, right? After reviewing our goals, I don't think we're right to move forward. I appreciate the opportunity and wish you the best. And just a business tip, firing a $500 stress client can make room for a $5,000 client. It's about peace. It's about profit. It's about, look, I've had clients that I absolutely couldn't stand. And I've just learned to just not work with people like that. I've just learned to spot them faster and just, you know what I'm saying? And just be like, you know what? I'm good. I'm good on this. Like, all money ain't good money. I know that in the beginning, things can be desperate. You need the money. You need the bread. Trust me, you're going to get to a point where you really don't want to, it ain't worth it.
Yeah. But my advice there would be know when you get there. Understand once you get to a point where you can start firing bad clients. Because I'll agree, it's not at the very beginning, you are just kind of taking what you can get. But there's a lot of valuable lessons in there too.
Yeah, I agree.
But yeah, once you get to the point where you can recognize it and be unapologetic about it, just like Ty was saying, there are better uses of your time than to take clients that suck up all your energy. My highest paying clients are my lowest stress clients.
Facts. And
that seems to be a rule.
Yes.
It's the people who want to negotiate on price, who don't have the budget. They're the ones who are trying to micromanage everything. They're the ones who are constantly unhappy. Whereas my highest paying clients, I deliver the project, they say thank you, and they sign the check. Like it's almost always just that simple.
There was a book that I read, and to paraphrase it, to sum it up in the Detroit public school version of what he was saying, he was pretty much saying it's harder to get poor people to separate with $50 than it is to get rich people to separate with $50,000.
Oh yeah.
So think about your companies. Like if you're working with a company that's a smaller company or they don't have a lot of money, you're gonna fight them tooth and nail for a $500 project. You may get a client that don't even have face-to-face contact with you. that will cut you a $50,000 check and be like, all right, just have it to us when it's done. And some of my best clients are like that. They just cut a check and be like, okay. I don't even know if they use half the stuff we deliver. Like, you know what I'm saying? They love it and they give us feedback, but they just like, keep it coming. Just keep it coming. So something to think about. There's a video I did called the 80-20 rule that talks about this a little more, about putting 20% of your, looking at your life, and 80% of the stuff that you're spending time on is you're wasting time. It's that 20% that's actually moving the ball forward that you really need to focus on, right? You really need to pay attention to, But I think that, it's a lot to think about for this episode. But anything else you want to add to this episode? Anything else you want to tell them?
We covered a lot. I think we went off script a little bit here for a second, but
but they learned something. They got some good tales about Tiger King. They know how to deal with crazy clients. Yeah. They know how we both almost got sucked into the Tiger King documentary.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It would have changed things a lot around here. You know what I'm saying? It would have changed things a lot. But I think that, the most important thing you need to take away from today's episode is, and look, we're all going through it. We're all in the industry. We're all dealing with clients that are starting to question and look at pricing because of the state of the economy and things. And they're just I got a bunch of students that's telling me, hey, I got clients that's calling me up, want to sit down with our proposal. And I'm like, you need to go up on the price. That's what you need to do. So with that being said, we're going to see y'all in the next episode. Make sure y'all hit the subscribe button, and we'll see y'all later.
See you in the next one.
Today, we're talking business.
No, you're not. Specs now.
So this is the brand
Mention
new.
the dynamic range, rookie.
Right.
15 stops of dynamic range.
And say 45
Don't lie about our
megapixels.
sensor.
45
Megapixels.
Right. Clients only care about your gear.
They don't care about your